Agile development is a way of reducing the risk in a project by delivering value early. To see how an Agile project works, let's compare it with a traditional project. A traditional project is one that uses the same techniques that have been used for decades in industries such as construction and engineering. A project like this has three major stages. The first stage is planning. If you're building a skyscraper or constructing a car, then the cost of planning are lower than the cost of construction. And so planning in a traditional project is long and detailed. The idea is to find out as many of the problems at the planning stage, where they can be fixed cheaply, rather than fixing them at build time, when they're expensive. Once a long, detailed plan is ready, you can continue to stage 2, building. The building stage is where you turn the plan into reality. In a traditional project, the building comes after all of the planning is complete. There may be some preparation needed at the start of this stage to remove any obstacles and make sure that everything is ready for construction of whatever your product is. A successful building stage was always believed to result from rigorously following a detailed plan to the letter. You don't want any surprises. You just want to carry out the design. So long as everyone follows the plan, there'll be no problems. Once the build's complete, you then come to the third and final stage of a traditional project, testing. Testing just needs to check that the builders followed the original plan. After all, the planner spent a long time making sure that their plan was perfect. So why did we ever stop using traditional project management techniques? Why did they fail? What's wrong with them? The problem is change. If requirements and circumstances never changed, then the traditional approach would probably work. But requirements do change. Circumstances change. Businesses have new requirements. Governments create new laws. Budgets get cut. Projects are rescheduled. So what happens when changes occur in a traditional project? The building stage, remember, was supposed to be just the implementation of a plan. But if something changes, that means that the plan is now wrong. What do? Do you just continue with the old plan? What if you can't? If the project is suddenly closed down before you got to the end of the build phase, what do you have to show for it? It might be that the only things you have are a large pile of planning documents and a half-built system. That's why traditional projects are often called waterfall projects. They only go one way. Once you're over the edge, you can't scrabble back to the top again. So, what can we do to reduce the risk of failure in a project? How would an agile project be different? In an agile project, we do all the same things that we do in a traditional waterfall project. We do planning. In fact, we do lots and lots of planning. But we try to keep the requirements concise and easy to understand. We call the requirements documents user stories because they try to specify the problem in terms that a user would understand. That makes sure that everyone stays focused on building the right things. We also build things, but we begin by building very small and simple things. In fact, in an agile project, a huge amount of importance is given to delivering something early. If we deliver something early, even if it's simplistic, we will at least have something to show if the project suddenly comes to an end. And of course, we also test. We test over and over again, all the time. In fact, the secret of Agile is that we do all three stages, planning, building and testing, over and over again. We create small plans, then build small things, then test the small things we built. Then we repeat with a few more features over and over again until the project finishes. That's why Agile development is a type of iterative development. We always try to have some sort of usable product available at all times, even if it's just something simple. But how do we manage requirements? With a backlog. A backlog is just a collection of user stories. Each story in the backlog might describe some important feature, or it might describe something less important. The key thing is that the backlog is prioritized. We keep track of the relative importance of stories and make sure that we do the really valuable work first. and leave the less valuable work to the end. It might sound like Agile projects are a little paranoid. It's true, they are. We're always prepared for something to go wrong, because at some point something will go wrong. Agile projects always adapt to circumstances. The system that you intend to build at the start of the project will likely be very different to the one you have when the project ends. And that's a good thing, because by the end of the project you will have a much better idea of what the system needs to do. And if something really big happens, for example, if your project suddenly has to be delivered by June instead of September, you'll know that you'll have something of value that will be ready in time.